Oscar Bevis for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. I'm here in Manchester. It's the Ultimate Boxer 4 press conference / draw. And I'm joined by, I'm going to address you what it said on the email, highly rated UK trainer.
Highly rated by who?
Yourself?
No, that's definitely not, no.
Dave Coldwell. Dave, how are you?
I'm alright, mate, I'm alright. I've just managed to get here. I've finished in the gym this morning, / this afternoon, early afternoon, and just quick shower, dived in the car and drove up. So I've missed a draw, so I've just literally got here. So yeah, good to be here.
First thing you pushed me on was a favourite, so that's what I'm going to push you on. I know you know a lot about me, Coldwell, but I believe that's who you're sort of backing, should I say?
I rate the kid. You know, I think he's a good talent. He's sharp. I think his energy is good especially for the 3 rounds. And do you know what? I'd forgotten how big he was, and I've just seen him now, and he's big. You know, I think listen, favourites for me in this, it's a nightmare because it's a sprint, and you've got 3 sprints to go. So you know, somebody might look good in the first set of fights, then they get into semi-finals, still look good, but then by the time they get into the final, they might just, the edge has gone off them. So a lot depends on that first fight as well, because it's just unpredictable. It's unpredictable, but I think based on the fighters that I know and how I've seen perform, and ability and talent-wise right now, clean, all fresh, I kind of lean towards Mikel.
I just want to talk on the whole about the Ultimate Boxer sort of series. Have you spoken to any of the guys? 'Cause I know you're sort of down as an ambassador for Ultimate Boxer. What are they saying so far about whether it's a success or not? Because I feel like personally it's sort of trying to bring in a new audience to boxing.
Yeah, it's not. Listen, it's a bit.
It's not your traditional boxing.
Yeah, I've said it before. For a window, Prize Fight was very, very successful. As long as you get the matching right, and then you don't try and get a little bit too smart, too formulated, where you bring in the big names who are used to championship distance and the smart thinking fighters, because then you get a tactical battle for 3 rounds, and nobody wants to see that, because it's kind of like not what these sort of tournaments are about. These sort of tournaments are about excitement. 3 rounds, off you go, sling some bombs, sharp shoot, excitement, energy, and atmosphere. Then they have a little rest and then they go again. But I do think that as long as you keep the matching right, where it's exciting fighters that are built, the style's going to suit for them 3 rounds, this is brilliant. It's a brilliant format. And whoever impresses in these formats, they make a bit of a name for themselves, and then they can go on and start building the career or having a career that's reborn in the normal world of professional boxing. But I like the format. It excites me. I know what it is. People that are just they like the old school box. They just want to see class boxing, skills boxing, stuff like that, over 10, 12 rounds. They take it seriously. It's perhaps not for them. But I think the guys at Ultimate Boxer are reaching out to a different audience. They're not really trying to engage the hardcore that perhaps are going to moan about these sort of things. It's something different. It's a different vibe. They bring music, they bring entertainment, things like that. It's a different vibe. So yes, it will get a bit of slagging off of the hardcore sort of boxing fans, but they're not too bothered about that. It's about their own group of fans and their own following that they're going to get out of it. And I think people that go along for these nights, they enjoy it. I enjoy it. I enjoy working on the shows. They're a good format, and they're interesting and they're exciting.
I've just heard you say off camera that you will be working in a sort of punditry analysis role on Friday the 19th. I just want to take you back to last Saturday, because you were in the Sky studio for the Andrade Selecki card from Providence in America. And when you're going through Twitter during them fight nights, I follow a lot of boxing people, see what they say. You do get spoke quite highly of actually as an analysis and pundit. How much do you enjoy that sort of side?
I love it.
Boxing?
I'm a big fan of boxing. That's what I am. I'm lucky enough to work in it as a coach and as a manager. I've worked in it as a promoter. But I just love the sport, and so to be able to talk about fights and give my opinion, and at the end of the day, everybody's opinion is just that. It's just an opinion. So I don't say to people you have to agree with me. I'm asked a question and I'm asked what my opinions are, and if I'm working for a show, if I'm working commentary, then I'm asked to call it as I see it. So I do call it as I see it, and I enjoy that because I enjoy talking about boxing. Listen, people stop me in the street and they're talking about boxing. I talk to people about boxing. I love it. I love the sport. So to have a job that entails you talking about boxing is brilliant. So yeah, I enjoy it. I love it.
You're not the only one. I just want to talk about your fighters now. Jamie McDonnell, the return last Friday in Italy. It was small. It's not small. It was a small card. It wasn't a televised fight. It was only a 6 round. You won on points. But sort of how proud are you of Jamie to come back post the
I put something on my social media that it was probably, even though it was away from the cameras, it was in a foreign country, low key, and it was a 6 rounder. But it was the most important 6 rounder I've probably ever been involved in. The year that Jamie's had has been so difficult, and it's been so difficult to be around him and to watch him have to go through it. He's been in some dark places, and I mean some dark places, and I'm very, very proud of the boys in my gym, Jordan Gill, Anthony Fowler, who's been living with him, Derek Chisora, Bellew whenever he's seen him, and obviously Gav. They've all really looked after him, and we've all helped to get him back, because we didn't genuinely think he was going to fight again. When Eddie's asked me, or anybody regarding matching and fights and stuff like that asked me about Jamie, when you're looking at getting out again, I'll be honest with you, I didn't think he was going to fight again. So I've never put a date on it. I've never said, oh yeah, we'll be back this, we'll be back that. Tried to get him in as much as possible over the last year. But he's been going through a lot of stuff. It's not just, people think that it's just coming back from a bad loss. Listen, boxing's just a small part of things, and there's a big, there's a big wide world outside of boxing, and he's had a lot of problems to deal with, and that he's had to go through. That's basically nearly finished him, and for him to eventually come through that, then put through a full stint and then a full camp of training. Then after he's in the gym for 6-7 weeks together, you think, oh, okay, well, we're getting somewhere now. And then we got a date. I said to Eddie, he's good to go now. We're looking. He's ready for June, July. Let's just get him out. I just want him on a little nothing fight, and see what he's got, see where he's at. And the first round he was very nervous, which to be expected. And then after the first round was done, he relaxed up, started doing a little bit more. And then the last 2 rounds, it was great. It was good to see a lot of the old Jamie McDonnell in there, and it was great. It was really, really good. So I'm really proud of him, and like I said, I'm over the moon that he's back.
After the Inouye fight, there was so much talk about Jamie's weight, if he had anything left in the tank.
Yeah.
Or was it just that he mixed it at one of the highest levels with a pound-for-pound superstar? Sort of, what's the plan going forward with Jamie?
There's no doubt that he mixed. When people say, "Oh, exposed" and all that sort of shit, he was fighting Inouye. Inouye absolutely splattered Rodriguez, who's a top fighter, elite level fighter, world champion. He splattered Piano, and he did Jamie. But Jamie was absolutely dead. He was dead at the weight, and I've spoke about that. And that was a big factor into how Jamie was. But he was at the elite level, pound for pound level, and it's not anything. It's not something that nobody else has suffered. So that's done. It's not bantamweight anymore. I would like him to be at featherweight. I think it's just as a human being, I think if he's going to box, it should be at featherweight really. But
tough division at world level. Featherweight, very tough.
He wants to have a go at super bantamweight first.
Right.
So we're going to do super bantamweight. He weighed just under 9 stone for last Friday, and he was comfortable at that. He was fine at that. So we'll see. We'll see how he is at super bantamweight, and we'll go from there. But Whereas, like I said a few months ago, I didn't think there was anything left, because mentally I didn't think there was anything left. He's got his head together, and he's been showing some good stuff in the gym. And then, more importantly, on fight night, he was enjoying it, and he was doing a lot of good stuff. And so yeah, he's definitely got a lot more to offer. And at super bantamweight, I think he can win another world title. I genuinely do. You know, he's a kid that's been at the top for a lot of years now. You know, he's won a couple of world titles. He's kind of like the road warrior, and he's got no fear of going abroad to go and fight for another world title again whatsoever. So now he's back, and he's had that fight. I can talk about him fighting for another world title again, and that's the aim.
Okay, moving on from Jamie, Jordan Gill, another one who had to recover from a loss. Again, there was talk after the Jordan Gill loss about various different things to do with why he lost. There was that he had food poisoning.
Listen, he should have told me what was wrong with him. You as a trainer,
full stop didn't know.
You as a trainer, it's like you now. You could have had shits all day, and I wouldn't know unless you tell me. I wouldn't know, and I could be with you all the time. You just go to the toilet or whatever. But all fighters, most fighters, they tend to have a bit of downtime themselves on the afternoon of the fight. So you'll get up, you go for a walk, you have some breakfast, they go and do what they're doing. We meet up later, go for some lunch, then they go back, go and have a chill, lay down, relax, chill out, and then we meet up and go to the venue. In those moments that I'm not with you, I don't know what you're doing on that toilet. You could be with me now, so I'm just nipping to the toilet. I don't know. Right, unless you tell me. Now the problem is that Jordan, I've said this before, the problem is that Jordan, he'd seen what Josh Kelly had to put up with when Adam Booth pulled him out, and they pulled out on the day of the fight against Avanesian, yeah. And Jordan was there, we was in the hotel, we saw it all, and then he saw what happened on social media. He was getting absolutely ripped to death.
He did get ripped, Josh Kelly,
yeah,
he did.
To death. Now this is the thing, you know, people's, again, it's just people's opinions, but social media, you are in spotlight, and that's what we have to deal with. It's part of life, but it doesn't make it easy for these young fighters to handle the pressure. They have to experience it to become experienced, become a bit more ardent. You understand? He's just turned around and thought to himself, I'm not putting up with all that. People aren't going to tell me that I'm a coward and this, that, and other, because Josh got a lot of shit for it. But they did the right thing. They pulled out of the fight. He wasn't right. It's boxing, it's health. And, you know, he's been reprimanded by the board because he went through with the fight and when he wasn't, and it wasn't well, and he shouldn't have done. But ultimately, once he makes that decision, you go into the fight, he still made decisions that were wrong decisions in the fight. You know, like when he started trying to bang back with him. There was one round, I think, round 7, when he started just boxing and keeping it smart and just being minimal. And I thought it was going to turn it back round, but every time he got touched to the body, he couldn't absorb it, he couldn't take it. Now, I've seen him in some hard spars, I've seen him in fights before and stuff like that. He's not got an issue, and he is still the same talent as what he was before that night. It's just that it wasn't well, but he was in against a good fighter. You can't take that away from Tinoco. He was a good fighter. And Jordan made the wrong choices in there, and he was beaten on the night by the better man. And that's ultimately what it is. But it's experience, you know. These young kids, he's 24, all right, he was 25 last week. These young kids, they've got to experience things to make them more, but especially if you're a smart, skillful, slick fighter, you have to become a little bit more battle-hardened if you want to compete at the top level. That fight had everything that I expected, apart from getting beat, and apart from perhaps getting the knockdown. I expected him to get put under pressure, I expected him to get hurt, I expected all those sort of things. But that was a fight that I thought he would have all them and then come through. But he lost. But the experience-wise, it is still the fight that will have done him the world of good going forward. Because now when things start, you know, you start having harder rounds, you're losing a round or two, you don't press that panic button and start trying to gunsling with a Mexican. You start using your brain a little bit more and try and be a bit smarter. And also, if he's not well in the future, he's going to turn around and say, Dave, I don't feel very good, and then I can pull him out. That's my job. It's not on the fighter. If it's like Adam Booth pulled Josh Kelly out. Josh Kelly didn't turn around and say, I'm not fighting. He told his trainer how he felt. Adam made that call. That's our job. You know, we have to be allowed to make that decision. by the fighters. And he's learned from it. Like I said, he got bollocking off the board. He had to go up in front of the hearing, and he understands that. But another thing you've got to think about with Jordan is he's not a groomed matchroom fighter. He's had the hard time in his career. 18 months without a fight. Sold £10,000 worth of tickets on a TV show before, having an opponent pull from him, and he sat there. He's got no fight. He's had that where his fans have bought loads of tickets, and then he's done this again, where he's then thinking in his head, well, if I pull out here, all these fans aren't going to come back again, not twice, So there's all those sort of things that go in a fighter's head. It's not just black and white, and it's easy for people to make judgment calls. Or he should have told his coach, he should have done. But you have to understand that these kids are under a lot of pressure as well. They're under pressure to sell tickets. They're under pressure to perform. They're under pressure to actually go in there and do the job. It's become part of the job. They have to deal with it. But it doesn't, just because you have to deal with something doesn't mean that it's quite an easy decision to make.
Do you feel like the reason Josh Kelly did get some stick though was because the question marks surrounding him weren't to do with an illness, it was more that people saying it was a weight issue in comparison to just a virus?
Perhaps so, but bottom line is, people were calling out Josh Kelly saying he was bottling the fight.
Yeah.
And this was another step up with Jordan. I'm looking at stepping up. This was another step up for Jordan, and then people just don't believe shit when you say something. This is the thing is when you do say something, people don't believe you and say you're full of shit. And when you don't say something, then people just think you're shit because you got beat. But then when you do say why you felt like shit and you didn't perform, because people said right from the start, round one, that's not Jordan Gill, it didn't look like Jordan Gill. And so you answer them and tell them why it's not like Jordan Gill. Then they say, oh, you're full of shit, you're just making excuses. You can't win. So that's why you can't let people's opinions cloud your judgment. And the pressure of what people might think, you can't let it ride on what the weight of your mind and what decisions you're going to make. Ultimately, you're the one that gets in the ring. You're the one that's risking your life for our entertainment and for what?
I mean, I can imagine Jordan's itching to get back in there now.
Oh, he is. He broke his hand in that fight, and it's been pissing him off because he's only just last week started punching back with it.
So we won't probably see him for a couple months then?
No, probably end of August, but I'd like to probably think September.
Okay.
Because he's only just started. We started back on the pads, tapping last week. This week we've just finished another week. This week a little bit harder. Next week I'm going to start stepping up a little bit more. So he's had a bit. Yeah, he's very frustrated. Just wants to get back in.
Has it been a frustrating time in the gym as a whole? Because of course there was the Anthony Fowler loss, and that was a damaging loss simply because of the build-up. So what's the atmosphere been like in the gyms? It must have been tough.
The atmosphere in that is back. Listen, but you can't mope and moan about losses. Just like when you're all winning, you can't walk around like you're 10 men and on a cloud thinking that you're untouchable. This is boxing, ups and downs, and every gym has it, every coach has it, fighters have it. You can't have a gym full of Floyd Mayweathers where they're all unbeaten and they're all superstars. We all have ups and downs, and it's been a bad spot for us. But they've been in competitive fights and they've been in good fights, and you're talking about Fowler, his 10th fight, he got beaten in his 10th fight. The problem is that it was always, for me, if you go in there and you don't listen and you think that you're unbeatable, for me it's a 50-50 fight, and it was a 50-50 fight. He got beat, got dropped, and that's what cost him. But I kind of thought he just lost it without the knockdown anyway. I thought it was close, but I thought he lost it. But if he listened and he did what he's been doing in the gym, then I fully expected him to win the fight. But he'll tell you, mentally, it's been so good for him because it has made him realise that
pressure off the shoulders, perhaps.
Yeah, I think a lot of these fighters that are unbeaten do feel the pressure to keep sustaining that. But also, he's an Olympian. He's only at that stage he'd had 9 fights going to 10, but because he's an Olympian and all that bollocks, and he's older than he's 27. He's kind of got to be rushed a little bit quicker than everybody else.
Does that make what's happened even more frustrating with the fact that tomorrow's show was cancelled? And
yeah, that's frustrating that show got cancelled for him because he was ready to go, and that shows the mark of a man that he's coming off for a loss and then he's willing to go from just having a comeback fight to going into another high pressure fight against a good name in Brian Rose. But that's how it is. There's no point in him dropping it. Because the first thing that he said to me in the ring after he'd not got beaten at that time, but we kind of knew that he'd lost, and he walked up to me and just went, "That's the first fight I've learnt in. All them easy fights haven't done me any good." And that was the attitude that I wanted. He's had a great attitude since then. The problem with Fowler is that he's gone hell-bent on the everything outside the boxing, which you need that personality. You need people to buy into you, whether it's love or hate. And sometimes he's been a bit of a pain on social media, and so people want to throw it back at him. And that's what happened. If you chat shit and then you get banged, you're gonna get some shit, and that's what happened to him. But the thing is, he's got a personality that I can have banter when we all take the piss out of him. He takes the piss out of us. That's how it has to be in the gym, and that's how you come back from a loss. And ultimately, he's got to learn from it, and he's got to move forward. And if he can do that, plenty of fighters have lost before and come back. And if he can't do that, then he'll get beat again. But the things that cost him that win and led to him losing, apart from Fitzgerald being very, very good, he would have encountered down the line anyway, and he would have got beaten at an high level anyway. That's how it worked, because it was quite simple why he got beat, and so it would have happened again.
One show that is full steam ahead is July the 20th.
Yeah.
A massive heavyweight night. You've got White Rivas, Alan Price, Chisora-Szpilka.
And that one, yeah. Alan Price and Dylan White and Rivas, they're great fights. I can't wait for them fights. They're really exciting.
On that night, Derek Chisora.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you know Derek very well. I just want to know what your thoughts are on Derek in that fight, because I feel like, on a personal level, people are perhaps not giving Derek as much credit for the tough fight that I think Szpilka is.
Man.
I think people look at the Wilder knockout and see Szpilka as perhaps
like nobody else in the division, and Szpilka was giving him a good fight, and then he got caught. He got caught when he was a bit tired, a bit sloppy, and he got nailed and he got put to sleep. But ultimately, Szpilka's a very, very good fighter, and he's a fucking southpaw. It's a very difficult fight. If people think that Derek's just going to come along and blow away, Derek's not. Forget about Takam. Takam was a grueling, hard fight, and then he pulled out a knockout.
Which suits Derek.
Yeah, Szpilka's 6'3", awkward southpaw. It's a tough fight. Trust me, it's a very, very tough fight, and especially at this stage of his career. 10 years ago, Derek Chisora struggled with southpaws. So it's going to be a tough. He has to be on it. He has to be mentally switched on. He has to be firing on all cylinders. This is a tough fight, and he beat Szpilka. That's a very good win.
And we've been rushed a bit, so I just want to ask you one final thing. I saw on Twitter there was a rant from you. Commented on one thing about the WBC franchise belt. I just want to know your thoughts on that.
What's that shit?
Yeah.
Franchise belt. It's just bollocks. Listen, WBC for me, it's the best belt. It was, but now they're turning it into a piece of shit. Pearl belts, franchise belts. Fucking hell. Diamante belts will be coming out. I know they've got a diamond. They'll bring out a Diamante. Why? What is that about? And then elevating.
Non-champions to champions. Yeah.
What was that about? I remember when interim champions were brought in because a champion was injured for a long time. I can understand that. Bring an interim, keep the title active, then the interim fights the
makes perfect
champion.
sense. Yeah.
That's it. That's what you need to do. You don't need to start bringing in all these and for another fight, for a special event. Like what they did with the Khan fight. That was supposed to be India versus Pakistan, I think it was. I think that's what it was built at. So they invented a pearl belt. You don't need a fucking pearl belt for it. You don't need a belt for it. Why do you need to do all that shit for it? And now, franchise belts is bollocks, mate. And it just needs putting an end to it, because it's just, how can I explain to the man on the street about that when I just think it's bullshit? It's just a way of earning money, and I'm not being funny. They're ruining a fantastic reputation. All organisations up and down and being dodgy and being, discrediting themselves every so often. But this is pure bullshit. There's no excuse for a franchise champion. Why does Canelo need to be called a franchise champion? It's Canelo. So the same for because he's elite and or something like that.
I think boxing fans know that Canelo's elite without adding the franchise.
You don't need franchise champion, you know. Canelo could throw his belts in bin and people still know that he's elite. It's just a way of getting more money out of him. But ultimately, big name fighters should turn around and say, I don't want anything to do with that. You know, it's all right for me to say that. It's not me, but they're going to be paying the sanctioning fees. Surely they have to pay a sanction. I wonder what sanctioning fee for a franchise belt is. Well, what's that rate? I don't know, but it's bollocks anyway.
Well, I'm sure you'll struggle to find a boxing fan that disagrees with you there. Dave Coldwell, I know you've got some other duties to do, so I'm going to let you go.
Cheers.
25 minutes, not bad. Thank you for speaking to IFL TV.